She told me not to stare. But how do you look away from someone who makes the world go quiet just by being in it? It starts with a glance, not planned, not dramatic. Just a quiet, unintended moment that lands a little too hard. He notices her before she notices him. It's the first evening of the summer art retreat, the kind of golden hour moment where everything looks softer than it really is. Guests scatter across the villa's courtyard, chatting, sipping wine, unwinding. And then, near the edge of the old stone wall, he sees her. She's older than most of the people here, but in a way that doesn't feel out of place, just different. Refined. She's dressed simply, loose linen pants, a sleeveless blouse, a lightweight shawl draped over one arm like she forgot it was still there. She holds a sketchpad, thumb lazily flipping pages, eyes half focused on the garden. Something about her stillness pulls at him. Like watching a candle burn in a silent room. He doesn't realize he's staring, not until she glances up. Their eyes meet. Her gaze doesn't break. No smile. No invitation. Just the quiet power of someone who's used to being seen, and sometimes, misunderstood. Then she says it. Cool, casual, just loud enough to cross the space between them. Don't stare. The words land without bite. A flick of humor behind the steel. He should look away, should apologize, but instead, something unexpected slips out of him. Soft, almost without thought. Then stops shining. There's a pause. Not long. Just enough for the air between them to tighten. She blinks once slow. And for a second, he thinks she might smile. But she only gives a small, knowing tilt of her head, a look that says, "You're either charming, or foolish." Maybe both. And then she turns back to her sketchbook. The moment ends. But he doesn't forget it. Internally, he's caught off guard. That's not the kind of thing he says, especially not to women like her. But it didn't feel like flirting. It felt honest. Like his words had jumped out to defend something beautiful before his brain could stop them. That night, as he lies in bed in the creaky old guest house, he thinks about her. Not in the way a man thinks of a crush, but more like an unsolved riddle. Why did she feel familiar when they'd never met? Why did her presence settle in his chest like something remembered? He doesn't know her name yet. But he knows something began when she looked at him, and didn't look away. In the days that follow, they don't talk about the first evening, but the silence between them is anything but empty. Their paths cross in ways that feel both random and inevitable. At breakfast, she's already seated at the corner table by the window when he walks in, fingers combing sleep from his hair. At the studio, she enters just as he's packing up his sketchpad. By the tea station, she reaches for the honey just as he sets down his cup. There's a rhythm forming, light, accidental, a little offbeat. But it hums with quiet energy. He watches her, not the way a man watches a woman, but the way an artist watches a subject he doesn't fully understand. She doesn't perform. Doesn't chase attention. And yet, the room bends a little when she walks in. Not because she demands it, but because she carries herself like she's learned to live without needing anyone's permission. She doesn't ignore him, but she doesn't make it easy either. A glance here. A raised eyebrow there. Once, when she catches him watching her during a group lecture, she leans slightly toward him during a break and murmurs, "Still staring?" He shrugs, pretending to focus on his sketch. "Only at the light," he answers. And for a second, her lips curve, the faintest hint of a smile, gone before it's fully formed. He's drawn to her in a way he doesn't quite trust. She's unlike the women he's dated, less eager to impress, more grounded. But it's more than that. She has gravity. When she's near, he feels more like himself. Or maybe, like someone he hasn't met yet. The others talk to her easily, the other mentors, the older participants. But when she speaks to him, there's a pause before each sentence, like she's choosing her words carefully. Or choosing him carefully. And that hesitation? It's not cold. It's protective. Meanwhile, something shifts inside him. His sketching changes, faster, more fluid. His lines are looser, but more expressive. He doesn't tell her, but her presence anchors something inside his creative self. She's not his muse, that would be too cliché. But she makes the air feel different, clearer. Still, he doesn't know where they stand. Are these moments intentional, or is he imagining the way her eyes linger half a second too long? Is he reading into things? Or is she just unreadable? He keeps his distance, mostly. He respects whatever line she's drawing, even if he's not sure where it is yet. But every glance, every near touch, every breath between them is building something slow and quiet, a kind of tension that wraps itself around their interactions like the scent of rain before it falls. It's not romance yet. But it's no longer nothing. A sudden afternoon storm rolls over the countryside, washing the sky in a muted gray and filling the air with the scent of wet earth and lavender. Most of the guests scatter indoors, voices echo down the long hallways, chairs scrape against stone floors, laughter filters in from the kitchen. But the glass-walled studio at the back of the villa remains quiet. He's there, sketchbook open but untouched, a pencil held loosely in his hand. Rain taps softly against the wide panes around him, blurring the view of the vineyards and gardens beyond. It's peaceful, almost lonely, until he hears footsteps. She enters without a word, umbrella dripping, a folder tucked under her arm. Her hair is slightly damp, pushed back behind her ears. No makeup. Just her, raw, real, beautiful in that rare, unpolished way. She doesn't notice him at first. Or maybe she does and simply chooses not to acknowledge it. Either way, she sits a few tables away, setting her things down in silence. For a few minutes, the only sound is the rain and the occasional scribble of graphite. But eventually she speaks, not looking at him, voice low and even. Everyone always thinks I'm so composed. But they don't see the silence after the crowd leaves. Her fingers trace the spine of her folder, then flatten across the paper like she needs something solid to hold on to. He doesn't interrupt. Doesn't try to fix anything. He just listens. His pencil stills in his hand. She continues, slowly, almost like talking to herself. About expectations. About being praised for being strong. As if that means she doesn't feel tired. About how admiration can feel like isolation in disguise. Her words are personal, but not self-pitying. It's more like she's finally admitting something out loud that no one's ever stuck around long enough to hear. When he finally speaks, his voice is soft. Maybe that's why you shine. Not because you want to, but because you have to. Because no one ever gave you permission to just dim for a while. She looks up. There's something different in her eyes now, not surprise, not sadness. Just a pause. As if something inside her has shifted a few degrees toward him. She doesn't respond with words. But she doesn't break the gaze either. And in that quiet, he feels it, not romance, not yet. But the seed of something rare, trust. The kind that isn't asked for, just gently offered. She gathers her things after a while and stands. Before she leaves, she places a single sheet of paper on the table near him, one of her sketches. A woman seated alone, framed by glass and stormlight. She doesn't explain it. She doesn't have to. She simply says, "Rain suits you," and walks out. He's left with her drawing. And the feeling that he's just seen something behind the glass, and that maybe, just maybe, she's letting him in. It's a late afternoon, warm but overcast, the kind of day where the air feels thick with the promise of something unspoken. In the open-air studio, the group gathers for a workshop on figure sketching. They're told to pair up, not as models and artists, but as critics. Partners will review each other's sketches from the week, offer gentle critique, and suggest improvements. He doesn't choose her. She doesn't choose him. But somehow, they end up seated side by side at a long wooden table, papers spread between them like a quiet conversation already unfolding. Their knees are inches apart. Not touching, but close enough that he can feel the warmth radiating from her. She smells like something subtle and grounding, sandalwood, maybe, and rain-dried cotton. She's flipping through his sketchbook, her fingers slow and deliberate. He watches her lips press into a small line of concentration. He finds himself leaning in without realizing it, not to impress her, just to be near her. Then it happens. She reaches to turn a page, and her hand brushes his, just a graze of skin against skin, the kind of contact that would mean nothing with anyone else. But with her? It halts the world for half a breath. Her fingertips pause on his. His pulse jumps, not in panic, but in quiet recognition. That this is something. That this moment has weight. She doesn't pull away immediately. Not because she's inviting it, but because she, too, has frozen in that split-second suspension, where choice, instinct, and restraint all tangle. When she does finally withdraw her hand, she doesn't acknowledge it. Not with words. But she turns the next page a little slower. And her eyes flicker toward him, once, like a test, like a whisper. Did you feel that too? He doesn't speak. He just lets the silence hold them both. Later, when she hands him his sketchbook back, their fingers touch again, only this time, it lingers. Just a beat longer than politeness allows. Just long enough to say something neither of them can voice. Her touch is cool, delicate, but grounding, like her presence always is. And in that passing warmth, he realizes he doesn't just want to look at her. He wants to know her. The real her. The one behind the walls and careful glances. After the session ends, they walk back toward the main house together. Not speaking much, just side by side, their arms occasionally brushing, casual, accidental, but never meaningless. As they near the entrance, she says softly, almost to herself, "You see too much." He stops walking. Looks at her. "Only what you let me." And for the first time, she doesn't look away. It's evening now. The sky is painted in soft layers of violet and pale orange, with the sun dipping behind the vineyard's low hills. The air has cooled, touched with the earthy scent of stone and wild grass. Most of the retreat group has gone into town for a dinner event. He didn't go. She didn't either. He finds her sitting on the back steps of the villa, a quiet spot, partially hidden from view, where ivy climbs the old stone walls and the garden below hums softly with crickets. She doesn't turn when he approaches, just speaks without looking. "You didn't go with them." "Neither did you," he replies. She nods, barely. There's a wine glass in her hand, nearly empty. Her other hand rests loosely on her lap, fingers curled like she's holding on to something invisible. He sits beside her, not close, not far. Just within reach. For a while they don't talk. They listen to the breeze threading through the olive trees, the low hum of distant voices from the villa's front. The quiet between them isn't awkward. It's honest. Finally she speaks. "You're not like the others here." He glances at her, waiting. "You don't just look. You see. And I." Her voice trails off, jaw tightening. "I forgot what it feels like to be looked at that way." There's a kind of grief in her voice. Not dramatic, just real. A quiet ache from years of being admired but not understood. Wanted, but not witnessed. He doesn't offer comfort. Just truth. "You make it hard not to see you." She turns to him slowly, eyes glinting in the soft gold light. And this time, she doesn't hide the way her gaze lingers on his face. She's searching for something, maybe resolve, maybe safety. The wind shifts. She shivers, barely. He removes his jacket without a word and offers it to her. She hesitates, not because she doesn't want it, but because accepting it would mean something. A crack in the wall she's spent years maintaining. So he doesn't wait. He gently drapes it over her shoulders, hands grazing her arms. The fabric is warm from his body. She doesn't move away. She looks straight ahead again, but her voice is lower now. Softer. "You're going to make me forget how to protect myself." And he answers, barely above a whisper. "Maybe you don't have to protect yourself from me." A long pause follows. And then, without looking at him, she leans ever so slightly to the side, until her shoulder rests against his. He doesn't move. He just lets her stay there. It's the first time they've allowed themselves to choose closeness. And in that shared silence, nothing is said, but everything is known. Emotional focus, vulnerability, emotional retreat, and the choice to reapproach, gently, honestly, and without pressure. Narrative purpose: explore her hesitation and his emotional steadiness. Show that affection doesn't need to be rushed to be real. Let their emotional walls come down naturally, but with care and mutual choice. Length: 500 words. The next morning, she disappears. Not entirely, she's around, here and there. Present but unavailable. She stays close to the other mentors, skips the studio sessions, joins meals late, and leaves early. She's pulled the curtain back down, and he feels it like a shift in temperature, subtle but sharp. It's not rejection. It's retreat. And he understands it. Even as it stings. He doesn't chase her. He lets the space breathe, even if it aches a little. Even if he keeps looking for her without meaning to, scanning the terrace, listening for the cadence of her voice down the corridor, pausing by doorways she's just stepped out of. By afternoon, the sky is sharp blue again, the storm long gone. But something cloudy still lingers between them. He finds her in the villa's old library, quiet, sun-drenched, the scent of old books and wood polish hanging in the air. She's seated near the window, reading something she's clearly not absorbing. Her posture is straight, almost guarded. The shawl she wears is the same one from that first evening. It rests too carefully around her shoulders, like armor. She doesn't look up when he enters. Doesn't speak. He walks slowly, sits across from her, not too close, not too far. Just enough. The silence stretches, but it's not empty. It's waiting. Then, gently, "You're not wrong to pull away." She finally lifts her gaze. "I didn't mean to. I just..." Her voice is quieter now. Measured. "This isn't supposed to happen. Not here. Not with someone like you." He doesn't flinch. "Someone like me? You're younger. Open. Curious. You still want things." She shakes her head, not unkindly. "And I've spent years learning how not to." That lands with weight. The kind of honesty that costs something. He lets it sit for a moment before leaning forward slightly, his voice low but steady. "I'm not asking for anything from you. I'm just asking with you." She closes her eyes briefly, like the words brushed somewhere tender. And then, slowly, she sets her book down. Their eyes meet across the space between them. He doesn't reach for her, not yet. But he places his hand on the table, open, palm up. An offering. A moment passes. And then another. And then her hand finds his. Cautiously at first. Like she's not sure if it's allowed. But once her fingers rest against his, she doesn't pull away. Her skin is warm. A little tense. But real. And there. He doesn't squeeze. He just lets their hands sit together in the sunlight. And in that quiet gesture, something long guarded inside her starts to soften. Not because he demanded it. But because he waited, and still saw her,